So I just got out of YouTube jail. This channel will probably be gone soon. So check out my backup channel on BitChute. Now, so what I'm gonna do on this for this video, it's probably one of my last on this channel. I'm gonna make some predictions, some 2024 predictions, and they're gonna be pretty ominous. And I mean, there's other predictions I could make, but that about different things. But I think these are the times that we're in. You should focus on what's most important, right? Like so, I hear people talking about artificial intelligence, AI, which I like AI. I think AI is amazing. I was able to build. I did some AI. I did an AI project where I built a AI chatbot that can teach itself, and I did that just to try to get an understanding of AI. And AI is amazing. But people say, well, AI is going to take over and it's dangerous or whatever, and advancements in AI. Yeah, that's not what you have to worry about. You're not. AI is not going to be an issue in 2024, 2025, etc. It's not going to destroy the world. Now, what is, I think, of consequence is what you're looking at as far as the 2024 elections, particularly if you're in America, but not just America, but in the world, right? So, let's just get into it. So my predictions first of all, let's go with the elections, right? So I'll talk about the elections, Middle East, Russia, the big ones, right? And because I don't think you're going to get attacked by the Terminator in 2024, right? I don't think you're going to get attacked by the artificial intelligence from the Matrix movies. Like these people are talking about that. That's not an issue, really. So, but what is an issue is these elections coming up in 2024. Now, I think that there's going to be some interesting things happening soon, as far as like who's Donald. I think Donald Trump's VP pick will be, stuff like that. I think it'll be interesting. Trump's going to be it's obvious now to anybody with half a brain. Trump will be the Republican nominee. That's a no-brainer. Now the question is, who's going to run against him, right? Stuff like that. Now, but that's kind of small potatoes. I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, because Donald Trump has a very strong chance of winning. I think Donald Trump will have the biggest turnout for black vote. And when I say black, I mean American descendants of slaves. I think he will have the biggest turnout for black votes in the history of the United States. That's my one prediction about the election. I'll make some predictions about the election. Donald Trump will have the biggest black vote in the history of American elections, of any candidate, probably, particularly Republican candidate. I'm gonna say modern Republican candidate, right? He will have the biggest black turnout for a couple of different reasons. One, because of what's happening to black people, the descendants of slaves, in cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, New York, Baltimore, Atlanta, Florida, because of what's happening to these groups economically and then socially, because a lot of these immigrant groups are very hostile towards the descendants of slaves in the United States, the American descendants of slaves. Because of that, now it has come to a head. Like, it's been going for about 20 years, but this election, it all comes out, right? And so, because of the treatment and the mistreatment of these people, this group, they're gonna gravitate toward Donald Trump because they want to try to put the brakes on that shit politically. So they're gonna gravitate, toward Donald Trump. Is it gonna work? Not at all. But that's another story. We'll move on to. I'll get to that later. So the first part of that, we'll just try to deal with. Yeah. So his electability. So his election. He will. So he will get the largest uh, black vote ever in modern Republican candidates because of that one reason. I think um, the immigration issue and black people being basically stomped out by immigrants in the United States. And so I'm not going to get too deep into that. You can do the numbers yourself if you give a fuck, right? You give a fuck about it. You can go do the numbers and you can look at what's going on and you can make up your own mind, right? And you can look at the reports coming out of New York, Chicago, and Houston, Denver, um, wherever, and you can figure it out for yourself. So that's going to push the black vote. Um, the fact that I think the Democratic, gig is up, right? They're not going to do any. They're not going to throw black people any kind of bones outright, like reparations, any of that, right? And stuff like that. So that's another reason black people are going to abandon them. They're going to just say, fuck it, man. We ain't got nothing coming with, they said, well, Donald Trump's a racist. They said, well, Joe Biden was a segregationist. And we're not getting shit from him. So we might as well try out this racist. You know what I mean? Like, why are you confined to one sort of racism? Right? You say, I'm gonna just get Democratic racism. Well, get you some Republican racism. And it might come with some more biscuits, right? And some more ham hocks and chitlins, right? And some more fried chicken and watermelon as compared to the racism you get from the Democrats where you don't get anything. You're lucky if you get a slice of bread and a cup of water on the plantation, right? So you might as well get you some Republican racism. They might give you a plate of hard Mars chitlins, fried chicken, and watermelon. Well, ain't that great, but it's better than nothing, right? Better than a piece of bread, a whip, and some water, right? So you gotta take what you can get, you see, but take the better deal, right? Don't, as Riley said on the Boondocks, don't be a bitch and a slave too, right? So, yeah, so Donald Trump is gonna garner the black vote. Not to mention he'll probably even offer black people something, right? Maybe not along the lines of reparations, but trust, he's a deal maker. It'll be better than anything they're gonna get from the Democrats, and he will do it, right? He will do it, right? He's thug life. Donald Trump's thug life. He's gonna do it, right? Just to get the shine, right, and the votes and to be back in office. He's an egomaniac. He wants that office back. You see, he wants revenge on his enemies, right? And so he's going to, do whatever it takes to get that. And if that means making a deal with black voters, he'll do it. Now, Mark Lamar Hill said he'll probably bring on Ben Carson to run as his vice president. I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that he would do something like that, as also a nod to, descendants of slaves in America, that he's willing to help them out, right? So, yeah, so look for these, you look for the biggest turnout for blacks in the history of the Republican Party, right? For Donald Trump. Now, that's just kind of the, the election part of it. But now let's get into the more ominous part. I don't think, well, two things. One, I don't think he'll make it that far, right? Unfortunately, right? And I don't know if I want to get into too much of that. I think I've got into it before on my other channel. I think I may even mentioned it on this channel and other videos, right? On some of my dreams and nightmares videos, right? Which I stopped doing. This will probably be my last stint on YouTube anyway. Like, once they take this channel down, I probably won't put another one up on YouTube anyway. But those videos got wiped out. I think it may be some on this channel. But yeah, I don't think I don't think he'll make it, right? For different reasons. Now that's my prediction, right? And I could be wrong, because I've had dreams about things that haven't come true. But I had a dream about Donald Trump, right? He didn't make it to the election. I'm gonna leave that there, right? Now, and it was the way he went out. It was massive, right? It was massive, right? Let's just say that, right? The way he went out was massive. It was huge. It wasn't a little, it wasn't like let's just say a RFK type of situation, or it was big, right? So anyway, so yeah, I don't think he's gonna make it to the election now, and that's my one prediction for that. I don't think, and then my other prediction on that is um, also, and in tail in that, I don't think it'll be a 2024 election, right? I think in the course of events leading up to 2024 election in November of this year, I think there will probably you're looking at a, how should I put it, a lot of unrest, right? You're looking at a lot of unrest. I think, something along the lines of what people would probably describe as well, let's just say internal conflict. I don't want to say civil war, but let's just say internal conflict. Because if something happens to him, it's a given what's going to happen next, right? It's already a given. I mean, you understand the people that's backing him. You dig what I'm saying? So when you look at like January the 6th, shit like that. So if something happens to Trump, you already know what's going to happen after that. So I don't even really have to get into that. That's a no-brainer, right? And so, unlike like let's say a Barack Obama, like no one cares, right? Nothing would happen. Everybody, what I'm saying? With Trump, that's different. The people that follow him is, different than the people that, let's say, follow Obama, right? And so, that it would be totally different, you see. And so that that would be, yeah, that would just spiral out of control very quickly. Um, and then let's just say, I don't know, he makes it to the election, he'll probably win. But it's still, you're going to have a huge amount of unrest that will probably spiral out of control. You see, either way. And so now that's just two scenarios along that Trump election path. Now, so that's kind of the way. If it goes that route, I predict it will happen. Right. Once you see one thing, you'll see another. Right. Now that's just the election, and because yeah, if he makes it to the election and not, and a vote goes through, he would win. He's probably going to win by a landslide at this point. I don't think, even like black people who are the least sophisticated voting bloc in the United States, I doubt that they can save him this time. You know what I mean? I doubt that the B-Dub, you know what I mean, the black woman, I doubt she can save Donald Trump this time. I mean, I'm sorry, Joe Biden, because for some reason, like Cat Williams said, they have a weird, loyalty to, you know, to uh, to scumbags and shit like that. You know what I mean? The racists and to racists and Nazis and shit. Like black women, they have, and people, like a lot of people in the black community, they have a weird, the people, which that don't do anything for them except, kind of fuck them over. But anyway, um, so some men is black women too. Some black men is black women too. Let me add that. But anyway, yeah, where was I? I got a lot of things I'm getting. I'm slipping my mind. Yeah, so Trump, he's gonna win by a landslide if he makes it. Okay, nobody can save Joe Biden, right? He's finished. And even if something happens to Trump, then there's not gonna be an election. You can forget it. There's not gonna be any like, well, this happened, and then we're gonna put another candidate in. We're just gonna keep it moving. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's over. The American experiment, it will probably be over at that point. Now, whether it happens on the day that something happens to him, or sometime after, soon after that, it will deteriorate quickly. You see. But anyway, so that's kind of a little bit on that, and that's just one part of the powder keg. Um, that's currently, cooking, um, you know, along the Donald Trump vein, right? Just some information on that. And everything I'm saying is pretty much backed up by facts and statistics, right? Some of it is speculation, but I mean, as you can see, he's definitely going to be the Republican nominee. So it's that's a given. Everything, some of what I'm saying is speculation, right? But it's easily discernible that that's probably was some of what could happen. Um, now, uh, now let's jump over to Joe Biden, right? So Joe Biden. Now, what makes this so dangerous? Like this whole thing a powder keg as well. And I'm gonna try to jump over. I'm gonna try to in a second jump over to the Middle East, but I want to cover the domestic, some of my domestic, predictions and things, right? Analysis. So, um, let's go along the Democrat Joe Biden strain for a minute. Um, with Joe Biden, um, he's basically a Israeli puppet, right? Israeli, a Marinazi puppet, right? And so, what, by them knowing that they're going to lose, this makes them more dangerous. Meaning, they're willing to do more risky things because they got nothing to lose, right? Stand by. So, if you look at let's look at Joe Biden, but not by himself. Let's look at Joe Biden and one of his main handlers, who was Bibi Netanyahu in the Israeli government, right? Um, they basically are the handlers of the United States Congress, um, and the presidency. It's generally ran by not people in the United States, but Israel. Like Tel Aviv, Washington D.C. and Tel Aviv basically are the same thing, right? And Tel Aviv actually has more power than Washington D.C. over what happens in Washington D.C. That's why, and which is a foreign country. That's why all your politicians swear allegiance to the Israelis, because they own them. Can we all admit that? That they can't say I don't support Israel. Now you can say I don't support Pakistan, I don't support Colombia, I don't support Argentina, I don't support Mexico, I don't support Canada, I don't support Germany, but you cannot be in the American Congress and say I do not support the state of Israel and I'm opposed to any support for them. You can't say that, right? Everybody knows this. Why? Because they own the American, they run the United States political structure. You see? And everybody knows that, right? So, um, let's make some predictions about that whole thing. So, with Donald Trump coming in, he also is part of that. They own him as well. But he's a bit of a wild card because he does not necessarily, he talks tough, but he's smart enough. He wants to do business. He doesn't want to get nuked. You see what I mean? So, he may not be as much of a zealot and as controllable as, let's say, some of the other ones, as he's a bit of an outsider, right? So they don't want to take a chance, even though they feel like they can control him. They don't want. He's a bit of a wild card, and they don't really want to take a chance with him. So they would rather get things done while Biden has control. So that said, that makes Biden and Netanyahu and this whole regime in the United States and Israel probably the most dangerous apparatus, governmental apparatus operating in modern times, because Biden is facing pressure from not being reelected. You see, also Netanyahu, who is the leader of Israel, is facing the same thing. They want him out. His people, the people of Israel, they're no good. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're not humanitarians by any extent, right? But they just want him out. Like, they don't want to stop the bombings and they don't want to stop what they're doing in Israel, but they just want him out. So don't get me wrong. right? It is truly the synagogue of Satan, right? And so because they are opposed to him, and as well as, so you got Netanyahu and Bibi Netanyahu and Joe Biden both being pushed out of office. At the same time, they don't want to lose power. That is a dangerous combustive situation, right? So what's probably going to happen is they're going to push for a war, widening of the war. Now, am I lying? I mean, ever since they started this, they said, we don't want to widen the war. What has happened? See, you're dealing with Satan. Every time they say something, the opposite is really what they're going to do. So when they say we don't want to widen the war, they're going to widen the war. And if you think about it, it makes sense politically for Netanyahu and Biden to do that. It's the only way they can stay in office, right? Because that's one option for Biden. If he can start all-out World War III before the election, maybe he can freeze the elections, right? He can find a way to politically freeze the elections and stay in power, right? Which is another powder keg situation from the election standpoint. So, and then, so let's move on. So I'm trying to, in the vein of this whole, let's move to the Middle East, right? With Biden and Netanyahu both facing ouster, this is a dangerous combustive situation, because they're both desperate to do something to spread the war, which they are doing, right? That's why you have Lebanon, Yemen. The U.S. is bombing Yemen right now. That's going to continue and expand. You have Iran launching missile strikes all over the place: Pakistan, Iraq, Syria. You have you have the fighting on the Lebanese border with the Israelis, right? Now you have conflicts breaking out on the Egyptian-Israeli border, right? And so this whole thing has expanded, right? You have the Americans losing to, and Ukrainians losing, and NATO losing to the Russians on the Ukrainian-Russian border, right? Which is all part of the same thing, right? And so now you have an expansion of the war. And they're going to continue to expand this war because they're both losing politically, losing political power, and their only option, only thing that can help them really is war, right? Is the war to help them stay in power or whatever, right? And so they're going to expand that, right? And so I predict that they will expand this war, and you have at some point, probably before the elections, World War III going to break out. You know, it's not going to be announced, but it'll be official. Like, you know, the general person on the street, like, you know, dumbass people in my family, you know, Joe bag of donuts at Walmart, you know, generally will understand that this is World War III without it being announced, right? They'll just say, yeah, it is what it is, right? Everybody will be under, you know, at that point, will be under an understanding that, you know, this fighting in Iran, this fighting in Yemen, this fighting in Palestine, this fighting in Egypt, this fighting in Syria, right? They'll come to realize that soon it's going to lead to fighting in the United States. You see, at that point people will panic. Start, not necessarily panic, but they'll start to, you know, they'll start to get a little excited and realize that, oh yeah, this is World War III. And so they don't want to panic the sheeple, so they will never announce World War III. I don't even think World War II was announced. There was no announcement of World War II. I don't think. So there will be no official announcement. The war will just expand and move faster and faster up into the 2024 election. Now, at the rate it's going, I predict that you'll be in a full-blown World War III prior to 2024 election, November. You see, because they have to move fast. You see, they got to move fast before the election to get this done. They got to get to Iran before November 2024. And Iran is already in it. They killed 100 people in Iran so far, and they've assassinated a couple of their generals. So it's moving pretty fast. Mind you, go back and look at some of my predictions I made. I've been right, and it's happened pretty fast, way faster than if you go back and look at what I said. It's a couple of my videos. So um, they're probably going to be full-fledged, wide open into, into this whole World War III scenario before November 2024. So you're facing civil war and you're facing World War III at the same time. Basically, running concurrently. You see, and there's no way out. You think about it like this: no Arab country is going to accept an apology after what is happening in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Palestine. You can't go back now. You've gone too far. You see, there is this, people don't realize that because, see, they live in America where anything goes, right? Anything goes in America. There's no such thing as going too far. Everything is acceptable. Doesn't matter what it is, right? That's Babylon. Anything, that's a very Satanist mindset of the people, you see? A very satanic, the people in America are very satanic. They tell you they believe in the Bible, that's not true. That's the farthest thing from the truth. It's satanic to say that you believe in the Bible, but then do the opposite of what's in the Bible. Let me say that again in case you didn't understand. It is a satanic principle to say that you believe in the Bible and that you are, let's say, a Christian. I hate that term because it's a very deceptive term. You see? To say that you believe in the Bible, but you are against the prophecies, against the commandments, against the laws and the scripture, and to do anything against those, that is a satanic mode of operation. You understand? So when you meet a Christian, and then you can easily find out if they are a Satanist or not, just challenge them on a concept in the Bible. Like, do you eat pork? Well, the Bible says don't eat pork. Okay, well, if you eat pork, then you're a bit of a Satanist. Because you're not doing what the Bible, you're doing the opposite of what the Bible says. So that lets you know not to trust their judgment. You see? You say, well, I'm a transsexual and a Christian? Well, that's against the Bible. Very satanic, you see? You had no problem with slavery, like Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is a Satanist, right? You say, America's not a racist country. America was built on slavery. So you say the opposite of what is true. You're a Satanist. Like the Bible said, ye are of your father the devil. You see, and the work of your father ye shall do. He was a liar and a murderer from the beginning, and there is no truth in him. I quote. I think that was a perfect quote. Y'all should clap. You should clap right now. That was a perfect quote off the top of my head, I think. So these people are very satanic, right? And there is no truth in them. Right? I think I'll end on that, right? Because I think I covered everything, right? I think I covered everything. So yeah, so that's some of my predictions for excuse me, for 2024. It's going to be a very precarious situation as we get into 2024, the end of 2024. I think you won't really notice it until around maybe, what is it, the elections is November, October, maybe August, September, maybe September. I think it'll be quiet until September. And then you'll start to notice it. I think the thing I also predict, once the way you'll start to notice it also, gas prices, right? So gas prices will, skyrocket because of the fighting in the Middle East. I think that's the first thing you'll notice probably like around the end of the summer, I predict that you'll see gas prices as Iran, particularly if Iran gets attacked. If you get an attack on Iran, which I predict will happen in 2024 by Israel and the United States, they will attack Iran. Not just Iran, but I mean, they're attacking Yemen. They will continue to attack Yemen, Palestine, Syria. Iran will be drawn in. There's no way out, right? Let me say that too before I go. Like I was watching the news show earlier, and it's unfortunate. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna go, but it's unfortunate. But there's no other option. Like there's no option. Like they say, oh, we're gonna we need a diplomatic solution. That's a lie. Anybody saying that is a lie. Anybody saying that you need a diplomatic solution to the problems that exist are a liar or stupid, right? You got to be stupid to say that, right? I was watching them because these people are not going to make any, like you look at the Israelis, they're not going to make any deals, right? Why would they make a deal with people that they can overrun? They can overrun the U.S. government. They don't have to make a deal with them. They control them and then they just slap them around. They don't have to listen to them or make a deal with them. They can pretty much overrun most of the people in the countries around them. Egypt, with the help of the United States and Europe. This is obviously a racist operation, a Eurocentric racist operation, right? But they can overrun them. They don't have to do anything they say, right? And so they're going to push the envelope, right? They're going to push that envelope right up to the gates of hell. They're going to push, because they're going to push the envelope, and they can push the envelope, there will be no diplomacy. They already said, we don't give a fuck what the ICJ says. We are going to kill everybody we can in Gaza and in the West Bank. Why? Because by killing these people, they know that they will draw in everybody to the war. You see? That's their plan. These people are the devil the Bible speaks of. They're going to kill as many people as they can as a political tool to pull everyone around them into a war. They know they can't be stopped. So they said, well, if we keep killing these people, everybody will jump in. Brilliant, let's just keep killing them. I mean, how wicked can you be? Right? They're going to sacrifice. I'm telling you, you're going to see body counts like 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 dead soon. You're already up to about 30. You're going to see like 100,000 dead. And then people are going to say, you know what, man, we got to stop them, man. And they're going to draw in, the people are going to draw in the Arabs, and they're going to try to stop them. Right? By the time they get to like 100,000 dead people in the Strip and then West Bank, and that's their goal. The Biden administration and the Netanyahu administration, their goal is to kill as many people as they can in Gaza, in Palestine, to draw in everybody else. That's their goal. Don't listen to what they say on the news. Their goal is murder, death, mayhem, destruction, you see? And so they're going to use that as a beacon to draw in the Arabs. To say, well, if you want us to stop killing them, why don't you come and make me do it? Right? You want me to stop killing these people? I dare you. I dare you to do something. Make me stop. That's their strategy. Right? Come across the border and make me stop. If you want me to stop killing them. Fight me and make me stop. That's their strategy. And this will expand more and more and more until somebody does something. So there is no diplomatic solution in play. You see? There's no stopping them. So my prediction is they're gonna push this whole thing until it explodes. Right? But this time it's gonna be uncontrollable. You see? Once it explodes, it's gonna be uncontrollable. Once it comes apart, it will be no putting it back together. Right? There's only a military solution, because they're gonna have to be forced through the military to stop what they're doing and make a deal. That will lead to the strategic defeat of the United States and Israel, and it's gonna be bad. Right? It's gonna be bad because they're gonna push them out of the Middle East. They're gonna destroy all of that infrastructure in the Middle East. So this could go nuclear. It could be, the end of the world as you know it. Now, if it doesn't go nuclear, then if it goes right up to the door of nuclear and it doesn't go, the U.S. will be destroyed, and all their bases will be destroyed in the Middle East. Israel will be utterly destroyed. The people will have to probably flee that area because of what they did to the Gazans is now going to be done to them. That's what I predict. What they're doing in the West Bank and Gaza Strip will be done to all those Euro-Israelis over there. And they will run their asses out of there. It will be no more state of Israel when this is all over with. Probably in like 2026, by the time this is all over with. This war is all over with. Right? There will be no more state of Israel as it exists today. I doubt them people, I don't know if they'll let them stay there after what they've done. You see? A lot of them may have to leave. And so there would just be Palestine. You know what I mean? And so all the bases, Israel will be destroyed. All the bases in the United States, U.S. bases will be destroyed. All U.S. troops will be forced to leave the Middle East. They won't be in Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, anywhere, because there'll be constant attacks on them and their ships until they destroy them or chase them out of that area. So that will be the end of the Middle Eastern experiment, probably between 24 and 26, my prediction. All right? And so at that point, it's a whole new world, you see? That's the only way you're going to have peace. They're not going to make a peace. It's not going to be peace with them now. It's too late. Nobody will make peace with them because they don't trust them and they don't like them. And they know that they genocidal maniacs and racists. They're not going to make a deal with them in that area after what they've done. You see? And they're going to push the envelope continually. And so it's not going to be a diplomatic solution. It's going to be a military solution that could lead to World War III. But even if it doesn't, they are finished. The Americans and Israelis and the Europeans are finished in North Africa. When this whole thing is over with Gaza and the war that this sparks, they will be gone from that area. Israel will be destroyed. Most of them people will leave and go back to Europe or be killed. All of the American assets will be gone from North Africa. And then those people will be like, all right, well, we'll make peace now. You see, but you can't come back to this area. That's how that's going to go. So prepare for that. You have to prepare for that. You know what I mean? You have to prepare for that. I mean, that's my prediction, right? That there will be no diplomatic solution. It's only you got to prepare for a military solution, and that it's going to reshape the so-called North Africa and the Middle East, right? And it will probably lead to World War III more than likely, because these people are maniacs, and they have a mentality of, if I can't have it, nobody will. And so that's the danger of these Nazis, that they'll probably blow start, blowing off, shooting off nukes, because Israel has nukes, right? So that's the danger. Once they lose the war, it's possible they could shoot nukes off, right? And then it's just gonna get crazy. So that's the World War III scenario. But anyway, that's some of my predictions for 2024, right? It's gonna be a rough ride. But that's all I got.